Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Telos Buzz, right here on Telos Culture. Evan, how are you doing this morning? It's morning for us here.
Oh, I'm doing great, thank you. Is it morning? Is it just afternoon? It's just afternoon.
It is.
Happy noon to you.
That fine twilight time where it's not morning, it's not afternoon, it's right in the middle. 12 o'clock.
I don't know
sharp.
if that's twilight, but okay.
a midday twilight of sorts.
Yes, yeah, totally. It's great to see you. Great to, have you here in London with me. I mean, we're not in the same room, but we are in the same city.
We are.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Everyone who's watching, feel free to check in. Tell us where you are. Tell us what time it is. And thank you so much for joining us. Later on, we're going to have Kirsten from the core developers, the Telos core developers here with us. He's going to tell us all about sTLOS.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome chat. We've called this one sTLOS for Dummies because I'm a DeFi dummy. And I feel like I've tried to dive into sTLOS a little bit, but I always get confused about something. Usually when the flowcharts come out, I'm like, I don't actually understand how this works. But I'm ready to get all my questions answered about sTLOS. And I'm always excited to chat with Kirsten because he is amazing and yeah, such a delight. And yeah, so very exciting. It's going to be great. Before we get into that, let's Evan, let's talk about some Telos news for people watching after the fact. What's new in Telos this week?
For sure. Hit us with some fun news facts.
I will kick things off and let me, turn the music down for this. One giant thing that has rocked the Telos ecosystem this week is that TED P3, the Telos Economic Development Proposal, the third version of it, officially passed. There were 108 accounts that voted, representing 23 million Telos, which is one of, if not, I think the most popular proposal this year, which is awesome. And that was a great use of Telos Amend. So that's actually changing the documents that govern Telos, which is really, really cool. TED P3's got a lot of exciting things that are going to be changing. If you want to learn more, I know Goodblock had a podcast with Kirsten also actually last week where they were talking, Douglas and Kirsten were talking about TED P3. So if you want, you can tune into that, go and check it out and learn more, or just read the document. It's a bit long, but there's some really good stuff in there. DeFi and Telos will never be the same, so says I.
Yeah, so Telos Amend, that's kind of like allows them to get in there and rewrite the mission of Telos almost, or like the like constitution.
That's pretty much it. I'm sure if I'm wrong, someone will correct me, but I'm pretty sure you're acting. It's some document in Telos. I can't remember what the document is called, but
you know what? If anyone knows, let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe. Awesome. So in other news, Chef Gooey has been cooking up a new project called Legend of the Realms. Not much is known, but there will be a DAO. It will seek to unify the NFT experience on Telos by building in public, and it looks really cool. So check it out, guys. We'll drop a link to that.
Yeah, you can check out a tweet Gooey made. Anything that Gooey touches in Telos is a good project, I should say.
Turns to gold, turns to goo.
And this one seems pretty cool. Maybe we'll see the return of Gooey. Always promised to run like a Dungeons and Dragons NFT game. Never happened, but maybe this will bring it about. There seems to be a nice
Maybe this is
fantasy. We got Liam here in the chat saying hello, welcome from
amazing.
Good to see you. Other news in quick before we get to our talk with Kirsten, we are going to have Pomelo season 4. This is an Antelope ecosystem news. Pomelo season 4 is coming soon. There's going to be another opportunity. If you're building something that's a public good, you can get some funding through Pomelo. So anything that is like, you can't stop anyone from using it and you can't like hoard it up. That's kind of what a public good is in a nutshell. You can get funding for it. It's great. I think they're getting funding from the US Network Foundation, from some NFTs that Pomelo launched, and other fees from using their platform. So yeah, it's going to be a great time. Telos Culture had some grants in the last season. We had one about Telos Scouts, more on that as we work on it. And as well, EOS, well, now I'll have to change the name. Originally it was EOS Collision Chronicle. Now it'll probably be Antelope. alliteration, something or other. But yeah, that one's going to be cool. So if you're building something and it could be a public good, get ready. The dates are sometime in November. Go and check out. There's a whole Medium article with all the dates and the timelines. Get in there, submit your public good, get some funding, and yeah, just do that. That's what we want.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll probably find out, but let us know, and we can do some, guerrilla marketing for you, name dropping, and we even have some marketing materials for anyone on Telos with a Pomelo project that we're happy to share with you.
We most definitely do. And that is one of the things actually that we were able to do. We got a Telos Works Fund to do that, but also now that we are a standby block producer on Telos, that's one of the things that we're doing to support Telos is, kind of marketing these initiatives and getting the word out about them. So if you want to see more of that, smash the like button, do all the things, vote for Telos Culture. And yeah, there's some other great VPs there too. So don't sleep on them. Cast your votes. Evan, let's get to it. Let's bring Kirsten on.
Without further
and
ado,
let's talk about sTLOS. Kirsten, welcome to Telos Buzz.
Good evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. So nice being here, guys. In fact, what you guys were referring to is the so-called TBNOA, which is Telos Blockchain Network Operation and Agreement, which can be found on the documents page and governance page on telos.net. So, and that's directly amended by those amendment votes. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool, and I'm so glad we have like a really good answer to that thing we brought up.
Yeah, it took me a while to get this TBNOA kind of in my mind, but there it is. So yeah, but exciting times in front of us, aren't there?
It truly is exciting times because of TED-P3, as well. sTLOS just launched. I know you guys hit a milestone today of 10 million Telos that have been staked within sTLOS.
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah, how does it feel to be hitting that milestone? Tell us about that.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it's a little bit surprising. We did expect that some funds would come over from Rex, but this was a large chunk that somebody moved over. And but it's cool because it shows the confidence that the community has in sTLOS and what it brings to our DeFi environment. So I think that's kind of what we wanted to do, isn't it? We wanted to have sTLOS on EVM to have an attractive at all, have any way of staking your funds on our EVM, and that's what sTLOS does. But it's like the liquidity part of it. So because it's liquid staking, and the liquid part I think is what attracts people to move funds over. And I mean, we do see the first implications on Omnidex as an example that started to have a pool and a farm for that. And that's just the beginning. I mean, we know that TED-P3 has a lot of components which will make it even more exciting and attract DeFi applications and incentivize DeFi. But sTLOS is like the main, I would tend to say it's one of the main building blocks to have this enabled for us. And this was a building block that was missing for a while. Now we have it, and like 10 million is great. I mean, we launched last week, basically.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's just the beginning.
Jesse is very excited about sTLOS in the comments here. So
yeah,
and he's got a new profile pic, which is fun. Good on that. Okay, so I know a little bit about what sTLOS does. I know that it's essentially like a receipt token that is taking like native Telos, turning it into something on the Telos EVM, and that's what you can use in like DeFi applications. How am I doing with my like explanation of sTLOS?
100% correct so far.
Wow. Okay. Maybe I'm not as much of a sTLOS dummy as I thought.
Yeah, very nice.
So with TED-P3 being focused, I'm sorry to interrupt. So with TED-P3 being focused on DeFi, and sTLOS also kind of allowing your stake Telos to become liquid for DeFi, are these two proposals actually linked together, or they just happen to play off each other really well?
Well, they are kind of linked, because if we look at like a jigsaw puzzle and see like TED-P3 as the full picture of what needs to be done to be more attractive and successful in DeFi, then sTLOS is one. It's like I would think the the starting piece, the edge piece of the puzzle where you usually start, and build the other things around it. So sTLOS is kind of an integrative part. And the idea, I think, the first time I personally saw somebody mention the idea was TJ from Omnidex, that actually raised a proposal and say, hey, wouldn't this be interesting to do this kind of things? And then we started to elaborate on this, and then this ERC 4626 proposal came out from Open Zeppelin that's like what is called tokenized vault standard, which is kind of a cool word. And we picked that up and said we need to do this. We will pick up the standard. We were one of the first chains out there that picked up that standard at all.
Oh, wow.
And then we had to even kind of extend it, because it doesn't have like a lock period like we have. So but coming back to the question, it's one of the major building blocks. It's deeply tied into this because it enables us to bring more liquidity, far more liquidity to the EVM. And every DeFi application, every DeFi initiative requires TVL, like total value locked. That is available and attracts more users, because more TVL attracts more users. So that's what we intend to do there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, that's a excellent answer.
Now let's go into some rapid fire questions that I have and I've seen in the community chats about sTLOS, some clarifications. And we've got a question in the chat actually, so we'll ask that one after I go through two quick ones. Okay, so this is one I've seen. Do sTLOS and Telos Native, does staking them have the same APR reward? APR?
Yes. Yeah, it's the same. We are aware that like Staker.1 is one of the mostly used staking interfaces still. I mean, we have OBE, we have like Explorer.telos.net, we have the web wallet, but Staker.1 is still one of the mostly used staking.
I didn't know there was
sites.
more than Staker.1. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so it's operated by some, not operated by the TCD. So, but still one of the mostly used staking platforms, and they still state like 13.6%, which is the figure that we know from the last year. So since it's never changed from 13.6, even though we had like 165 million Telos staked on Rex, and increasing, it implies that the value wasn't correctly calculated. So we're currently still working with Staker.1 to adjust that calculation. So the sTLOS calculation that you find on Teloscan is the one that we think and know is the most correct one.
Gotcha. So okay, that's interesting. So it's the Teloscan one that's accurate as opposed to like the Staker.1 representing the right number. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's what we investigated. Yeah, and then again, since sTLOS and Rex staking are now tightly close, kind of pooled together, like they draw the funds from the same rewards pool, and like the last vote we did was like the equal amount for rewards. So it is staked is drawn from the same rewards pool, and it's equally distributed based on the amount staked on each side. So it's the same APY.
Gotcha. Okay.
You may argue though, and kind of be very picky. On native, we don't have transaction cost. I mean, on EVM, we do have transaction costs, and if you watch some of those videos, it was like 0.15 to 16 Telos that you have transaction costs. So you will have to deduct that, which is kind of not very much.
Yeah, as of now, that's like pennies on the dollar, which compared to any other chain is not what you would be paying to.
Yeah, try to do that on Ethereum in times where there's high gas prices and have like Uniswap pools. It's like giving away a lot. So we don't have that. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Evan, you got a question?
Oh, no. You're good. You can go on.
Okay. Other rapid fire question. Can you vote on BPs or on Telos Quirks? In other words, take part in governance with sTLOS?
No, that's currently not possible. Quick and dirty answer. It's not possible. We did have initial discussions, especially in the Telos governance group, when we firstly started to discuss about sTLOS, what would be the effect of funds, large amounts of funds moving over to EVM. if we don't have voting rights for those tokens. So that's a discussion, and we are monitoring this. But in fact, like Douglas hinted, at some point of time, we want to look into having voting rights for EVM too. But that's not such an easy thing to implement, and we're working on like a very close integration, a trustless integration between the EVM layer and the native blockchain layer. So we have a chance to do this at some point, but it's not an easy task to develop those items. So from that perspective, I think it is something that we're looking in, but it's not possible. So large funds moving over obviously have an impact on the voting. So if you look at the BP schedules that we have the last days, you will see there is some slight fluctuation because funds moved over to EVM. But currently, it's all we don't see like a critical impact on our governance in general.
Nice, that's amazing, and a really good answer too.
Yeah.
We had a question from the chat. Let's go in through and see what that's all about. Evan, do you want to read that?
For sure. So Tash Nar is asking, so if we can use sTLOS for DeFi/prediction markets and essentially have more sTLOS than initially started, can you then convert the extra sTLOS to Telos?
Yeah, you can always unstake sTLOS to Telos. So imagine it's not like Rex. Rex is kind of locked away, and it's like a pool that's auto compounding, and at some point you decide, I want to get my Telos out of there, and then you simply unstake, and there you have it. So the logic for sTLOS is that as you mentioned, Thomas, you take your Telos, you stake it to sTLOS, you receive sTLOS as a receipt token, and what happens in the background is that the pool of Telos that is backing, like is the collateral for sTLOS, is growing over time because it gets rewards every half an hour. So the pool of Telos increases. So if you start to buy additional sTLOS from Omnidex, or you gain sTLOS, somebody sends you some more sTLOS, then you're obviously eligible to receive the amount of Telos that's related to the sTLOS value. So that's where it's a little bit confusing sometimes for people. If you look at the staking interface, you see that if you stake 100 Telos, you probably receive like 97 point whatever sTLOS. That means that the pool is already growing. So sTLOS is worth more than Telos in general. The receipt token is worth more than Telos because it regularly receives new rewards every half an hour. But if you try to sell sTLOS, you'll find that you receive more. So like selling 100 sTLOS will probably give you like 102, 103 Telos at this current point of time. And this is like the logic. So wherever you get sTLOS from, it stands for a defined amount of the pool of Telos that is staked in total.
Right. And that makes me think of is it called sETH, like, or the staked ETH tokens that they have now, right, which do kind of the similar thing. We're not talking about ETH here, but I guess this also reminds me of the gold standard, right? So you've got a token that's backed by something. In this case, instead of gold, the token is backed by Telos. It's a Telos standard, except your gold usually wouldn't increase in value over time. In this case, it's like the bank is just making more and more money, and your dollars are going up in value.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, this explanation actually answers one of the questions that I was confused about, because I saw that there's an Omnidex pool of sTLOS to Telos, a swap pool, and I was like, why do you need a swap pool if it's like they're basically representing the same thing? But if you've got, like, you've made a lot of rewards from like staking or farming, not financial advice, don't do what you know how to do, then you could trade the kind of excess sTLOS back into Telos. Is that kind of the idea? Is that kind of the
Well,
idea? Am I getting that
not
right?
100%, because like
Okay.
you don't receive more sTLOS. The value of sTLOS increases over time. So like technically. So but like the cool thing about liquid staking is that you can have liquidity pools for both sides, and this is for like the real degen users that are basically waiting for people to panic sell their sTLOS and trade them against Telos when there is a lot of price fluctuation. Like Bitcoin goes down 3%. People say, oh, we're all gonna die. And then they want to sell all their sTLOS immediately and don't want to wait 10 days on staking period. They want to sell immediately. They want to get out.
Right.
So what they do is they go to OmniDex, they sell their sTLOS against Telos and receive normal Telos back, which then can be traded on KuCoin, wherever, and get USDT or C. And this is kind of the logic. So this is why there is liquidity pools, because there are people waiting for an incentive to basically one, participate on the transaction cost, obviously, but also have the possibility to increase their share in sTLOS at a lower price as if they would be staking. So there is some arbitrage opportunity there for those people that are in the pools.
Yeah.
You need to understand, though, that obviously you have 50-50. So if you enter into a pool, you put in 50% Telos and 50% sTLOS. So imagine that you actually halving the possible rewards if you would enter 100% of Telos in sTLOS. So the pools and liquidity pools and the farms need to give you more rewards than the technical loss you have by only having 50% of that funds in sTLOS. So this is where it's like the unfortunately the farm at OmniDex is kind of, it was like 150% initially and it dropped down to 1.99%. So if you still bet on some transaction cost and some people like dropping their sTLOS at some point of time at a lower price, then it's still kind of viable, but you would receive more rewards if you just staked everything into sTLOS at this current point of time. But OmniDex is only the beginning. So, and we don't have lending yet. Imagine lending. So this is obviously no financial advice. If you have sTLOS, you can take sTLOS at some point of time, you put it in as collateral, then you borrow Telos or USDC or whatever, then buy more Telos, stake that Telos to sTLOS, add the additional sTLOS to the staking pool as a collateral into the lending pool again, and then you can loop this thing to like there are some calculations that say like 100%. So you could double the amount of sTLOS and Telos you hold technically, and then receive rewards on that. But obviously that's high risk. You need to be very careful with that, not to be liquidated. But this is what the real degens will do with this at some point of time.
This is where my brain starts to hurt. This is where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to do that. But all the power to people who do. And know
for sure. And I mean, this is recorded, so you can go back, you can watch it over and over until it clicks, right?
Yeah, and it really, this kind of scenario, you can loop this like 3, 4, 5 times, and then you have even more. But with every loop, with the amount that you borrow, it's really the risk increases. So this is really only for people that really know what they're doing, and it's not available yet. But we know that at some point we'll have this puzzle pieces in place, so sTLOS kind of spreads its entire possibilities. Currently, it's staking. So you stake and you get a pretty attractive reward. If you've seen that infographics that we created, it's like 12% at 10% unstaking period, no commission, is pretty much leading the pack in regard of liquid staking solutions out there.
Wild. I'm putting up the little reminder that, know what you're doing before you play around with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, do your own search, own research, always.
Yeah.
For sure. So how do sTLOS and TED-P3 leave you feeling about the future of Telos and Telos EVM?
It is. I personally, again, know NFA. It's pretty bright. The point is that, and we discussed that in the around the block Twitter space with Douglas. I mean, Telos in general is a perfect DeFi chain. So we have no front running. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's always no front running. You cannot be sandwich traded. Which, to be honest, this happened to me when in the early days I was trying to get some Telos. Somebody sandwich traded me on Pancake. because it was
Oh
possible.
shoot!
So I was kind of losing like 15% at that point because they really did pretty bad things. So this is not possible. And you have the very low transaction cost, and you have, which is also, never forget that we have this 0.5 seconds block time. So if you see a good price and you want to go in, nobody can front run you, and you can basically immediately exchange and not lose time and waiting for transactions to pass. So Telos is one of the most perfect DeFi chains out there. So with all the things that we do within TED P3, which is liquidity rewards and liquidity incentives for AMMs and users. So the users staking and adding funds to liquidity pools on AMMs, the existing and the new ones soon to come, will be in a position that they also receive liquidity rewards in addition to the actual staking rewards. I mean, that's very, very attractive. And we've seen from various other chains that had a direct impact on their token price and market capitalization, because this is what people were looking for. And having additional funds also for Ignite as an initiative to bring and onboard new dApps and have grants to be attractive for apps to come over. This is a very important part. Another part in TED P3 is also like an increase of the TCD funding, because as you know, we've increased our staff significantly during this month. I mean, we're like 18, 19 people right now, which are associated to the TCD. You see
18 to 19?
Yes, it's
Holy moly.
it's
That
a
is
lot
huge.
of fixed employed people, but we also have retainers with third parties to give us the resource we need, which are not available in our ecosystem or market. So that's the amount of people that we pay for. So it's a very, very good sign that we increase the payment to the TCD to kind of be able to continue with that growth and continue with the development level we are currently working on. So this is these are I think some of the key components. I mean, there are some number games where we reduced some funds from some of the pools that we have and readjusted those. But really the DeFi incentives and being able to be more attractive to apps and users and AMMs and centralized exchanges is key of that. So I'm really confident that this will really give us a push.
You got me really excited. And also, I know that the TCD has an awesome bunch of stuff planned. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that with all the new team members. Guys, we've dropped some links in the chat to follow the TCD for more information. They've got their own Twitter, which is great now. We've also dropped a link to stake your Telos. Here's the TCD one. Go give them a follow. Click the link, not on the screen here. Stake your Telos. Check it out.
For sure, like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow Kirsten on Twitter as well. That's Kirsten Telos, right? Yeah.
Let me get that up here. Kirsten Telos. Yeah, follow Kirsten. He's always got something great to say. So yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Telos Buzz. Let me check my calendar, see what we got coming up next week. Thank you, Kirsten, for being here today. It was a pleasure talking to you. I feel so much more knowledgeable of it at Telos. I feel like I actually know how it works now.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I learned a lot today. Thanks so much, Kirsten. You're super knowledgeable. This is great.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. By the way, next Tuesday, Telos, let me do some advertising. Next Tuesday, Telos Tech Talk. We got the quarterly roadmap update coming up with Douglas and Jesse. So next Tuesday, Telos Tech Talk. It's going to be a little bit earlier than usually, but we're going to talk about our roadmap achievements so far and what we're going to do next quarter. So this quarter up to December.
Do you know what time that's at in UTC?
It's no.
That's okay. We'll stay tuned. And
it's a little bit earlier than usual. So.
Well, for sure, we'll hope to see you there if we're up for it.
I'll try to be there. I love the TCD reports. So good. Always lots of good info there. Guys, thank you so much. Next week, we're going to be back on the Telos Buzz with, I believe we've got Telos Youth lined up. They're a newer BP. There's some young bucks from overseas, across the pond, from who are validating the Telos network, or want to be. So we'll find out what they're all about in a minute. Guys, remember, if you just got here at the end, like Erica here did, you can go back and just rewind the video. It's all here on the Telos Buzz. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your evening, great night, whatever time it may be there. And we will see you guys next time. Take care, y'all. Bye.
Thank y'all.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. Have a great evening.
Cheers.